Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before we officially begin the program, please rise for the invocation to be led by Miss Arcel Salazar, airspeed head for North and Central Luzon.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for gathering all of us today in this special and important event. May you bestow your guidance and blessings to each and everyone present today so that we can enjoy and appreciate the significance of this event in our lives. Bless all the speakers that each may be able to share their wisdom and knowledge that will be benefit all concerned, and that they may offer it for your greater glory. Lord, grant good health and safety to all. May this activity, through your intervention, be a success. We ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Miss Arcel Salazar. This event is being presented by Airspeed with major sponsors China Bank Savings, InLife, PLDT Enterprise, and Regis Spaces. The region of Pampanga and Clark Freeport Zone are considered the future economic hub of Central Luzon. New Clark City covers almost 10,000 hectares and will be the first smart, disaster-resilient city in the Philippines, attracting interest from virtually all industries. New Clark City is considered the natural hub for economic development north of Metro Manila. Its world-class infrastructure and huge employee base is built on one of the largest aviation complexes in Asia. Clark has modern highways connecting it north, south, and to the massive Subic seaport. Modern rail links are in advanced planning stages. Find out what is happening in the country's largest infrastructure project with 4,400 hectares under development, plus another 27,600 hectares in subzone. This is the Asia CEO Clark 2022. And now, please welcome our host, Mr. Richard Mills.
Thank you. Yes, it's been a while. We never knew who was going to come and see us, so we're really pleased to have everybody. I know a number of us drove up from the city. So really nice. New Clark City and this country. You know, lately I've been sitting down watching, there's online videos for they're called, mega projects of Philippines 2022 and these kinds of things. I don't know how many have seen those things, but I've been watching them lately and really becoming indoctrinated on the future of Philippines. And almost always, the number one biggest project, the most important one in all of this, is this New Clark City. So we're pleased to be here. I know this weekend is the big balloon festival and music thing, I'm told. A lot going on here. So it seems we are all in the right place. We've been lately talking to people in the hotel industry and some other things, but right now, CEOs are coming here. In the past, it was, second or maybe more like third or fourth level people from different countries coming in, but now it's CEOs looking to put really big investments and a really big focus on the country. We have, a lot going on. I mean, I'll just I'll go through a few things here. We have, our friend Craig Rhines is here back from his place in the U.S. with a group now looking for expansions, and it seems like lots going on here. We have Evan McBride with a big smile on his face. Evan's group did a really big job, helped by our friend architect June Palafox, in establishing the Clark area. And he just came back full force into it with the purchase of, what was the buildings you called them again, Evan? West Arrow Park. We used to hold this event to standing room only, I don't know, 100, more than 100 people in his facility, and a beautiful, real premier office buildings that they have there. So you're going to see a lot more there. So we have his group with us. Our airspeed group, this group, maybe let's stand up, get some excitement going here. There's a lot of exciting things going on. So this group has grown, from 600 to over 1,000 just over the past couple of years during the pandemic. E-commerce, of course, is a big focus of it. Thank you, you can stand it. Appreciate it. But a good story. SM bought a big part of their company now, so they're dealing with real big thinking people and have to grow fast and all this kind of stuff. So it's pretty exciting. Our BCDA friends who, please stand up. They're at the back. If you want to meet these people, this is your chance. And you stand, come on, Queenie, come on, Pat, everybody. Yeah. See, they come out in force. And some people say things that government is slow and difficult to do and all this kind of stuff. It does not apply to these people from our experience. We've always had them. I don't know how many of your CEOs now, Vince, the guy before that, I can't remember, but 3 or 4 of them that we've been working with this group, always responsive and pleasant and following up and all this stuff. So it's really nice to see them and have them with us. We have Converge, another ICT group. Where's our Converge group? They're quiet now. They were handing out business cards. Okay, they're there, doing a lot of work and growing and all that. So really good to have them. HMR group, our friend Ron is up here. He's been many years building businesses and growing and so forth. KMC, our KMC group, they came up from the city. They're working with Evan McBride's group on his buildings and a lot of things that they're working on across the nation. A very good group. LEPAD group, do we have them with us? I wasn't introduced. They're on the list. Maybe they're coming in shortly. Okay. We also just hope to give you some ideas so you have. Mega World is here. Everyone's quiet all of a sudden. Our Palafox group, of course. June is going to have. We put him last because he's always the big draw, and people come just to see June and all of his slides. He'll have about 1,000 slides, and so we're glad to have June. Our PLDT friends. Another group of friends we have. Come on, get up here. We want people to see you. They're a nice group. You get to know them and you can work. It's such a large organization, sometimes it's a bit hard to get things done. But if you get to know the people, then they will go to bat for you. SMDC friends are here and others. So it's a nice group, and it's really nice to see everybody. So we'll get going with our event here, but yeah, our first speaker to kind of get things going, Craig Rhines. If you didn't know, there was a big company called Sitel, or is a big company called Sitel, and Craig ran that organization for years. This was his second posting in the country, and I think it had close to 25,000 people during that time. So this was a very large employer of Filipinos across the nation. Craig was a big proponent, and still is, of, I think, Craig called it, what was it, countrywide development, or is it province, moving the jobs to where there's people who need employment in the provinces and so forth. And he was really a leader in that. That was Craig's second posting in the country. Previously, he ran Teletech, established that, off to a very good start. Now a major employer. And we'll have another speaker who ran that organization as well. So, Craig has a storied kind of a history in the country for contribution and really driving the nation. Winner of the Expatriate Executive of the Year Award. Only a few people have gotten that, and Craig is one of them. So, So with an interesting story, an interesting guy. I know he was working last night, got home at 3 a.m. or something, or got here, and said, I need to sleep. Can I have a room? So anyway, he slept for a few hours and was able to get up. So, but he looks lively as usual. So please welcome Craig Rhines. His formal title is, VP Customer Technology Transformation for DirecTV, which he'll tell you about, I'm sure. Nice to see you, Craig. Looking good.
Goodness, Richard, thank you for the kind words. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a collector. I collect many things, awards. Thank you again for the award. Degrees, and you may not know this about me, but I was mentioning it to a few of the employees that we're working with here in Clark in SM City last night, because they were very interested to hear about all the things that I've learned in the Philippines and the many things that I've collected and have brought back. And I had gone through some of my files just before coming out to the Philippines. This is my first time back in 2.5 years since the beginning of the pandemic. Again, you may not know this about me, but I have acquired a degree in mathematics from LaSalle in Manila, and I also have acquired a degree. It's a doctorate in business administration from Ateneo. I don't know if you knew that about me. Yeah. I got them at Recto. That didn't land as good as it did last night with the call center agents. Well, look, I am so excited to be here. It's always fun to come and talk about the experience and my observations on what I think may be some key differentiators for the Philippines, for the Philippines market, where we're looking. Now I'm on the client side, whereas before I was on the partner side. But where we're looking to spend our investment dollars in markets around the world, and the Philippines is a big part of our sales and service environment. So the company I work for is called DirecTV, and DirecTV is still a major part of the AT&T, the global AT&T group. AT&T about 6 years ago acquired our business. They also acquired the Warner Media properties, so CNN, HBO, a lot of the big content providers in the entertainment industry. And last year, AT&T decided to spin off DirecTV. We have a satellite and streaming, internet streaming product. It's all live TV, very similar to Sky or Signal in the Philippines. And we also are one of our partner companies, Warner Media, also spun off and was sold to Discovery. And so there's now a new large entertainment group, one of the largest in the world. And as part of that separation, we're under what's called a technical service agreement. So all of our shared services and a lot of things like our IT help desk and our HR services and procurement services, quality assurance and workforce management, all of these things are still being supported through AT&T under these special agreements. And as the companies are separating, we have to make a decision around how we're going to bring these services back in-house. And in some of our executive committee meetings, we talked about different options. And one of the first people who spoke up and said, well, gosh, I know a thing or two about the Philippines. There's lots of shared services and contact center support here. So why don't we take a look at the environment here? We have about 12,000 employees with our BPO partners around the country. So we have experience. We have access to business partners like PLDT and large companies like Sitel and Concentrix and Sutherland and Teleperformance and VXI and et cetera, et cetera. So that's the context of why I'm here. And my job is the transformation of all the technology, the customer interaction technology. When you call when you call DirecTV, the first thing you speak with is an interactive voice response, which everybody has had experience with that. And then there's routing technology to get the call from the network to the contact center or to an automated assistant, et cetera. So we realized that as part of our separation from AT&T, and as we started looking at all of our processes, the technology environment is extremely complex. Very, very complex. And we make it very difficult for employees to successfully do their job. So my team's job, it's a new organization based on my experience in the contact center industry, working in markets like the Philippines, and interacting with our frontline employees, is to identify the capabilities, those pain points that they have, and try to simplify that with these interaction technologies to improve the overall interaction experience. So this is actually a lot of fun for me because my customer is actually the contact center agent. It's not the end consumer of our products. So I get to go out and have dinners with and hang out with the contact center employees and ask them questions about what are the things that I can do to help make your job easier. And so they love me. It's great. And it's fun. It's fun. It's a fun experience. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of context around who I am and what I'm doing here. What's become really obvious, however, is that the pandemic has created a number of new pain points for employees that are not necessarily just technology related. They're process related and they're organizational related. So with the current configuration, in some parts of the Philippines, we still have about 60 to 70% of the contact center employees working from home. Now, what is preventing them from being able to successfully do their job? Well, there's lots of things now. The physical setup of their home may not necessarily be conducive to do this kind of work. The equipment is potentially not the best equipment. In many cases, when the pandemic first hit, and I know many of you here had the same problem in whatever industry you're in, whatever job you have. If you didn't have a laptop, or maybe you had a laptop, but it wasn't a powerful laptop that allowed you to do all the things that you needed to do, maybe you didn't have a headset, maybe you didn't have a video camera, with that laptop. So the equipment that you had at the office, you had to basically pick up and ship it to your home. Now imagine in an industry where we have 1.4 million people, that was not an easy task. And in some cases, it took many weeks to actually get equipment to employees. And now, 2.5 years later, I think for the most part things have been worked out. But that's still a bit of a challenge when you're a brand new employee and you're just starting off in the industry. How do you get the right kind of equipment? You may not have that at home, and so you still have to coordinate the logistics of having all this equipment and consistently supported. There's lots of different potential configurations, lots of different reasons why things could potentially go wrong. So it just creates a whole nother dynamic for employees here in the Philippines. The broadband into people's homes is also a challenge, and continues to be a challenge depending on where you are in the country. The shift, the shift may have worked really well when you were going into the office because you may have had support to watch your children or to support your loved ones when you weren't in the office. And now, if you're working at home, you may have to rethink that whole support network. So many different challenges. I think when I look at it, and we have been trying to really prioritize what we can do to make the employee experience better in the Philippines when we live and our customers live a half a world away. It is around this concept of we can't continue to assume that the employee is going to work in a brick and mortar facility. It has to be more of a work from anywhere model. And a work from anywhere model means the way you recruit people, the way you train them, the way you support them in their daily lives, the physical space that they live in, the organizational structure, support structure, how you manage, how the people are managed, how they fit within the corporate hierarchy. All these things really have to be rethought of. And so the challenge that I'm talking about with my colleagues here in the Philippines, and I want to challenge you, is to take this as an opportunity, because the Philippines is not the only place that has this issue. We have this in the US, and this is a problem all over the world. This really still has not been completely figured out. So the Philippines can once again become a real leader in how to deliver a true work from anywhere model that can really enhance the employee experience and at the end enhance the customer experience. And I think that will be a lot more attractive. So while I know that some of the developers may not want to hear this, I'm not really interested in working with partners that want to sell me several thousand seats of physical brick and mortar capacity, because I don't think that's the model anymore. And I still, and as Richard very nicely shared, I'm a huge proponent of countryside development. And this was one of the challenges when you had the model of having a big brick and mortar infrastructure. You couldn't necessarily go to many places in the Philippines because you couldn't keep those facilities filled. Well, now, if you have a work from anywhere model where you have a smaller physical footprint, but your model is to hire people in a work from anywhere mode, so they don't necessarily have to be physically co-located in the same place as your brick and mortar office. This opens up all kinds of possibilities. including things, I know it may sound silly, but even, hiring work from home employees that live, in Boracay, and have the opportunity to, to have a completely different lifestyle that fits them. So that's the challenge and I think the Philippines is the creativity here, the innovation here. This is really the time for the Philippines to step up and think a little bit differently. And June, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about let's start thinking about building little work hubs in people's homes and in their condos, because that's going to be the future. And if we do it first, this could be a model that's replicated all over the world. So with that, Richard, I hope that was okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Craig. We'll have some more questions for you and hear about things, how it's going. Yeah, some people say the BPO shared services thing has come to an end, but it's really seemed to be the next big wave of that. And another big and very important industry these days, especially because of e-commerce, is logistics. So Maurice Regis of the Airspeed organization, I talked a little bit about it before, but a lot of growth and virtually all of it is e-commerce. So, you've got groups like HMR Group and anybody that's not focused on an e-commerce component to their business is really going to have some trouble. So we're glad to have Maurice Regis of Airspeed International, Senior Vice President. Glad to have you, Regis.
Good day, everyone. It's so nice to see everybody face to face. I think we really missed this, seeing each one and being able to interact with all of you. And I think I'm very honored to be part of the Asia CEO Forum here in Clark and to see all of you again here. I am Maurice Regis. I'm the Senior Vice President of Airspeed International, and I'm here to share some updates and status of logistics and prospects here in Clark, Northern Luzon, and how we in Airspeed can make it happen. Airspeed has been in the industry for the past 37 years, and we have grown from a personnel of 4 people when it started, and we have now more than 1,000 employees under Airspeed. So at this point in time, I'd like to be able to share with you a video and a backgrounder on how we in Airspeed can make it happen.
Getting a business off the ground requires a lot of ambition, a meticulous eye for detail, and a willingness to challenge the odds. But how about taking your business even higher? What you need is Airspeed. For over 35 years, Airspeed has been the unstoppable force. Whether by land, by air, or by sea, you can count on Airspeed to provide you with world-class state-of-the-art logistics solutions that best suit your business needs. Airspeed has a wide array of business services that are end-to-end, so you can be sure that your goods are safe and secure throughout its entire journey, from the factory all the way to the customer. We're still growing our product line to provide you with more modern solutions to challenges businesses face in this age, which is why we're making things happen digitally. Are you ready to bring your business to the next level? Contact us, because in Airspeed, we make it happen.
You know that as we recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, businesses are usually looking at opportunities or locations that they can explore in expanding their businesses. And then I think Clark is one of those cities, one of those areas that we are all looking at. The metropolis of Clark does not only aim to be known as one of the business capitals of Central Luzon, but also as a green city. I think Mr. Palafox might be able to expand more on that, on the green city initiatives and other eco-friendly initiatives. So being in the heart of Central Luzon, Clark has helped boost the Philippines' economy through its favorable location and appropriate distance from Metro Manila and also to the Subic seaport. Because of this, Clark has been the host of various events and activities such as the Southeast Asian Games in 2019. And of course, I think we are also a partner of the current Spartan race that's going to be held here in the New Clark City starting tomorrow or tonight. And of course, the other improvement of its road network, which resulted to increasing flights seen at the Clark International Airport. And I would like to be able to point out was that according to NEDA, Central Luzon was among the 4 regions with the highest economic growth in 2021, despite the pandemic. Of the 5.7% economic growth in the country, Central Luzon was the 3rd largest contributor to the increase of 0.8 percentage points, accounting for 10.9% of the total GDP of the Philippines. These add to the premise that Clark is indeed helping to raise Central Luzon into its dynamic growth. Now, Clark has become the hub for business, manufacturing here in the Freeport, tourism, and logistics. I think we all know that here in Clark, we have both FedEx and UPS. So, being the new business attraction, Clark has had several infrastructure development. And I think what we have to first point out, especially for logistics, would be the Clark International Airport Terminal 2. To continuously improve the development of the airport and to make Luzon more accessible, last August 2019, the operations and management of Clark Airport was awarded to LIPAD, or Luzon International Premier Airport Development, which purpose is basically to manage, maintain, and develop the Clark Airport. With this, the airport will be able to accommodate now more than 8 million passengers and operate 686 weekly flights from 18 airlines. Some of which that are operating right now would be Emirates, Qatar, Scoot, Jeju Air, and so much more. Actually, yesterday, we went to the Clark Airport to physically look at this new terminal. It's something that, of course, we can be proud of. It's very beautiful, and it has the state-of-the-art facilities that all of the passengers will be able to enjoy this beautiful airport. Now, being in the freight forwarding industry or in the logistics industry, of course, our main concern is how will LIPAD support logistics at the international airport. LIPAD was able to share with us that there are benefits for having the air cargo operations here in Clark. Number one, with the international airport, it is located in the Clark Freeport zone. The city has tax and other financial incentives. It is also strategically located as an advantage for manufacturing and industrial businesses as it links to major Freeport zones to the nearby towns of northern and central Luzon, like of course in Subic, and we also have in Tarlac, and we also have in Baguio. The city's road network is connected to major expressway. So it connects the Clark Airport to these major road networks like NLEX, SLEX, TPLEX, SCTEX, Skyway, making the city's airport more accessible to Metro Manila. I think, again, for those in the logistics industry, we'd like to be able to make sure that there are ground handling facilities or agents that can accommodate handling different types of commodities aside from the regular semicon or other GCR cargo. They can also handle special commodities like live animals, pharmaceuticals, perishables, and other dangerous goods. It was also pointed out to us yesterday that the custom-bonded warehouse has a capacity of more than 20,000 square meters of storage facilities with cold chain capability. Especially if we are now moving a lot of pharmaceuticals and other special cargoes. This is also very important to have cold chain capabilities. Now, of course, for us to release the cargo, I think it's very important. The support in customs clearance should not be a problem. So the Clark's Bureau of Customs Operations is available 24/7. Now, aside from that, I was saying, okay, so those are the advantages of the Clark International Airport. So what is it in it for the logistics industry? It was nice to note, and we were happy to note, that they had included logistics in their master plan. So thank you to the LIPAD President, Mr. Noel Manakil, and Evangeline Gabor, the VP, and Paulo Santos and Mariel Ginto, who toured us all over the airport, and at the same time was able to express that logistics is something that they have included in their master plan. What they want to be able to develop within the airport would be that they want to make Clark as a logistics hub and a cargo gateway, not just for the Philippines, for the domestic environment, but also to the APAC region. They have an all-inclusive community that should cater to the intermodal, using multimodal mode of air, sea, land, and soon, hopefully soon, would be the rail. Then we have the availability of the different stakeholders. Of course, we have the customs brokers, the Bureau of Customs, we have also the truckers, and all those involved in logistics are here, part of Clark, and part of the cargo ecosystem and supply chain. And I think with the Clark Airport, and we are really hoping that there will be more airlines that will be operating soon at the Clark Airport, because that will provide more carrier options for passengers going to destinations that were not previously catered to, and at the same time, increase the cargo space capacity at the Clark Airport. Some of the manufacturers here would bring their cargo all the way to Manila because there were not sufficient flights or cargo space available. And I think with additional flights coming in, there will be more cargo space, and that would mean, of course, less logistics costs, because you don't have to truck to Manila all your cargo. That would, for us, it would be, or even for the consumers, less logistics costs would translate to less cost of goods that we have or we are buying right now. And I think another development that we're really looking forward to would be the new Clark City Food Processing Terminal and International Food Market, which aims to attract investors from different sectors in storage and facilities handling. This will also help small, medium-scale industries in the North and Central Luzon to distribute their products to Manila and the rest of the Philippines. Now, another infrastructure that's definitely needed, especially for the cargo industry, would be the Subic-Clark Railway Project. This is part of the National Railway Luzon System Development Framework that will improve freight services on the Freeport zone of Subic and Clark. This will link Subic Port with Clark International Airport and the other manufacturing companies here in Clark and its nearby areas. Rail, I think Mr. Palafox would also agree with me, that rail is acknowledged to be the most efficient and eco-friendly among all modes of transportation, and as such, might pave way for us on our green logistics program in the logistics industry. Next, we have the Aguilas Subic. I think this is the former shipbuilding facility of Hanjin that will be utilized there in Subic. Therefore, the ports are really considered the windows of the country and development and growth. It is very necessary to be able to build the road network surrounding the facilities. Now we see we will see the Subic. We look forward to the construction of the access road that will link Subic Freeport to SCTEX. I think if you would remember 2015. We had a huge port congestion in Metro Manila because there were roadblocks for us to bring in. There was no free flow of bringing in and moving out the containers outside of Manila port and also of the Asian terminal. And that port congestion was quite long. And there was a time we were saying that we had already several vessels all lined up at Manila Bay. No, so the road infrastructure is very important to complement the ports, whether it be an airport or the seaport, so that there will be a free flowing of goods and services towards the airport and the seaport. So with all this construction of the road networks, including also the Bataan-Cavite Interlink Bridge, which is also one of the infrastructure that will address the solution for the long travel of commuters, as this is cable-stayed bridge on Manila. So travel time from Bataan to Cavite for only 40 minutes and will help in decongesting the traffic in Metro Manila. It is also permanently connected to the provinces in central and to the southern Luzon more efficiently and can open up several economic opportunities for the provinces in the region. This can also attract or bring in more tourists, both from the southern and also going here into central and northern Luzon. Then we have the Tarlac, Zambales, MacArthur Highway leading to the new Clark City. If we are developing new Clark City, then we should be able the road networks also available. And this will be via the Kalangitan Access Road that will immensely help the movement of goods and services. Then we have the underground train station of the PNR inside Clark, which is part of the 53-kilometer PNR Clark phase, which is from Malolos to Clark segment. And this would, of course, shorten the travel time of commuters from Malolos to Clark, Pampanga, and utilize also the facilities here, including the Clark International Airport. Now, at this point in time, I'm not really very sure how many percent has been done, how many percent is, when it's actually going to be finished. So, of course, the pandemic has delayed some projects, but this is a very important component in moving people and cargo to Clark. And I think rail is something that is not existent except for the LRTs and the MRTs in Metro Manila. But rail is a modality that is not existing in the logistics industry in moving cargo. So I hopefully, even with this rail, we can maybe make use also of the rail from Malolos or from Manila coming to Clark. So the infrastructures and improvements in Clark will definitely help the logistics companies like us to transport and fulfill our services seamlessly to the northern and central Luzon. This, of course, translates to lesser cost. And I think that's most of the major concern of our clients right now. Now, for airspeed, even before the COVID-19 pandemic happened, we at Airspeed already embraced digital transformation to improve our logistics and fulfillment solutions. I mean, we saw it coming. I mean, and there's no way we cannot stop it. We just have to embrace it because digitalization is really here and part of our environment. First, we are offering a third-party logistics integrated service, wherein we offer businesses can outsource a logistics provider, fulfilling their first, middle mile, and last mile requirements. We at Airspeed have already been doing that. As you said, Richard, the e-commerce is really growing by leaps and bounds. And we're not talking only of last mile, because that's what we are more concerned is the last mile, because it's the last touch towards the consumer. But there are other components in the e-commerce, and that would include that would include also our warehousing. That would include our last mile delivery, and that would include our first mile, and even the middle mile, and also our pick and pack. And of course, sometimes there has to be return to merchants facility that we are able to service. So by doing this, we want to be able to lessen the worry of our sellers in transporting their goods. And Airspeed has made it one of our major activities, especially during the pandemic and up to now. If you take note, during our video, we were able to present our new concepts. We have our speed food, speed grocer, and you know what? We were able to set up those activities right on the smack of during the pandemic. Why? Because we had to address the needs of our consumers. We were going towards what is needed by the market right now. And doing something different during the pandemic was really a major challenge, but I think we were glad that we were able to do it and serve our customers. It's a modified, on-demand service that we were able to put up during that time. Now, aside from that, for e-commerce, we were also to provide the warehousing facility for storing items, which is a healthy demand in the country. This is also addressed to the needs also not only of the e-commerce, but for our other manufacturing clients that we have been dealing with. With this, Airspeed also has a wide array of warehouses and storage solutions situated in different parts of the Philippines. We have various warehouses in Parañaque, Cebu, Davao, Cagayan de Oro, and in Clark to take good care of your items until they are fully fulfilled. And in line also with the e-commerce, we are now fulfilling and shipping orders is also a laborious task. That's why we have established our e-fulfillment service, which is now the newest hassle-free solution we offer at Airspeed. Our team can customize services such as inbound, storage, outbound, delivery, and other valued-added services that we offer to ease the fulfillment all the way up to the shipping process. Now, at Airspeed also, we believe that the local SMEs need to be highlighted, especially during the pandemic. With this, we came up with an online shopping platform for locally made products dubbed as Kahanga-Hangang Pilipinas through our Updeck platform, one of Airspeed's group subsidiaries. Our Updeck is the one handling this platform the aim is really to be able to sell through the local or the SMMEs some local products of the Philippines. This is where customers can easily purchase Filipino-made products and at the same time for Airspeed to deliver it right away. Here at Clark, Airspeed is on its way in improving logistics through our Clark Hub. And this warehouse will serve as a gateway for northern and central Luzon. Sorting and dispatch of domestic and international shipments have already been done here. Now, what does it mean? It means that this improves transit time and cost since shipments do not have to be brought all the way to Manila. Now, when we lessen the transit time, what that means, we are improving the customer experience. Now, at the same time, we are looking forward for more flights to operate out of Clark for us going to Visayas and Mindanao, because that's what our hub operations here in Clark will be doing, is also to be able to transport goods towards towards Visayas and Mindanao at a faster pace instead of bringing steel back all the way to Manila. So we'd really like to be able to shorten the transit time of moving cargoes all over the Philippines. Because of these solutions that Airspeed offers, we are able to help businesses from large enterprises, SMEs to MSMEs. Whatever their cargo is, whether it be pharmaceutical, we are handling pharmaceutical, consumer goods, even heavy cargoes or even project cargoes, and other perishables, we assure to make it happen through our freight forwarding services, warehouse facilities, customs clearance capabilities, and customized logistics to ensure we provide what our clients needs. I hope I was able to share information or insights here in Clark and the northern and central Luzon, and how it would impact you also with the developments here in Clark and also in central Luzon, and how also we at Airspeed can make it happen. I also hope that our continuous rise from pandemic may bring hope for the future to everyone. And it's a pleasure again to see all of you today face to face. Thank you and have a good day.
Thanks, Maurice. Yes, logistics is quite the enabler. And there's a big future ahead, especially here in Clark. Our next speaker is also an enabler, I would say. PLDT. And you know, a lot of people say it's a very big organization and hard, but you know, we have these different events. As you know, I often talk to people from different parts of the country, and there was one of many examples, but there was a fella who was building a large operation in the agribusiness, otherwise known as farming, coconut products, and it was in some remote area of Palawan, I think it was, right? Yes, and no roads. He had to build the roads. He had to hire people and all. And he had called the different telecom groups, and it was PLDT that said, okay, no roads, remote area, and the business might fail. Okay, we'll go with you. And they built their infrastructure, and it was key to their group. So getting the right people on board within the group is important, and they'll really do things for you. And we're pleased we have Mike here, Mike Nolasco, with us today. In this Luzon, North Luzon area, this guy is a guy who can make things happen for you, it seems to me. So glad to have you, Mike. Please welcome Mike Nolasco. His formal title is Business Head, One Luzon Enterprise. So enterprise meaning big businesses, right? Or mid-size, but good. Hi, Mike. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Richard, for a very kind introduction. Mayap agat panapon to everyone. So that's basically good afternoon in Kapampangan. So Clark, the local in Clark also speaks in Kapampangan as part of the Pampanga province here in Central Luzon. So after 24 months of battling COVID pandemic, we are now seeing a semblance of normalcy, right? And I think this event is a testament to that, where finally, thank you to Richard that he decided to do this face to face. So I hope this is a start of a continued recovery of all the activities here in our country and the activities of businesses and our government as we start to recover from this pandemic. Okay, so I'm honored to represent PLDT Enterprise this afternoon to share with you specific updates on, of course, I think that's what everyone always expects from us, updates on our network infrastructure. So let me, I prepared my script because I wanted to be very specific with the numbers that I'm going to share to everyone. So for PLDT smart network facilities in the country, our continued efforts to provide better services and to extend access to further corners of the country in the year of 2022 begins with our CAPEX of 85 billion pesos. Yes, we continue to spend this amount of money in the past years to make sure that we are able to meet the demands of individuals and businesses in the country, which have allowed us, this CAPEX had allowed us to further our fiber rollout and increase exponentially our bandwidth capacity. As I speak today, PLDT's fiber optic cable in the country already reached at 743,700 kilometers. No? It's not that much compared to the bigger countries, but this is much bigger from the past year with 600,000 kilometers. So it's double-digit growth from the previous capacity that we have. And this domestic fiber optic network across the country has now an operating capacity of 46.7 terabits per second of bandwidth. So just imagine if you have 100 Mbps at home, That's 10 times is 1 Gbps and 1,000 times it's 1 Tbps. So our operating capacity is now at 46.7 Tbps. Our consolidated international links, so for those companies who need connectivity in other countries, is now at 20 Tbps. And our internet capacity is already at 18.2 Tbps in first half of 2022. This capacity serves our current broadband subscriber base of 10.2 million homes. Our smart network continues to expand its coverage through its growing 76,600 cellular base stations across the archipelago, servicing more than 71 million mobile subscribers, where more than 39,000 of that 76,000 cellular base are now are operated with 4G and LTE capability, while 7,300 of those base stations are now enjoying super fast mobile internet speed of 5G. And we continue to turn on 5G in strategic places where we think it is already needed by individuals or businesses to be able to enjoy fast speed usage in your mobile devices. Right. Specific here in Clark Freeport Zone, this has always been included in priority areas of implementation of latest PLDT and smart services. Here in this zone, we already have full fiber service coverage. So 100% fiber coverage here in Clark. And this is also the very first city, Clark City, where we fired up our smart 5G service back in November of 2018. So full 5G. And in Clark, PLDT also invested to build out and launch our Vitro data center, providing resilient and reliable hosting of our enterprise customers' critical infrastructure. So in fact, when Central Luzon was hit by an earthquake with a magnitude of 6.1, the area was damaged. Building structures were torn down, and there was actually no electricity in the entire province of Pampanga at that time. And our Vitro Clark data center was continuously operating at that time, as it should be, without downtime. So that's a testament on how these data center infrastructures are critical to enterprise businesses, right? To be able to continue, no? Even in times when disasters hit in a specific area. And finally, we built in Clark our largest disaster recovery facility seats with a capacity of more than 20,000. So it's another building beside our data center where businesses can subscribe disaster recovery seats. If your main office is disrupted or your people cannot go in that area for work, that is actually a place where you can subscribe working areas, no? Where power is undisrupted, basic utilities are available for your employees to continue to be able to work and for your businesses to be able to continue to operate in times of disaster. And of course, for New Clark City, we partnered with BCDA to provide fiber facility and 5G wireless network for the coveted SEA Games held in NCC last 2019. And yes, the development of NCC, our PLDT fiber and 5G services is ready to service potential businesses in that area. And for other updates here in Central Luzon and in Northern Luzon, for our kababayans here in the north, I am very much delighted to share that part of that 743,000 plus kilometers of fiber optic expansion, our completion of fiber facility rollout in 35 small towns as of this first half of 2022. To be very specific, we rolled out our fiber in San Clemente of Tarlac, Gabaldon and Laur of Nueva Ecija in Region 3, Aritao, Dupax del Sur, and Villaverde of Nueva Vizcaya in Region 2, Madela of Quirino, Benito, Soliven, Burgos, Malig, Nagilian, and Quezon in Isabela, Abulug, Mulong, Bugoy, Pamplona, Piat of Cagayan. Apologies for those who doesn't get local. That's very local. It's also very hard for me to pronounce. No? But those are really small towns in these provinces, right? And if you guys are starting to look for potential new areas in Central Luzon, in Clark, and in other parts of North Luzon, yes, we continuously to expand our fiber and smart wireless facilities in these areas. For our milestone projects, let me also take this opportunity to take pride in sharing major projects that we have invested and continue to invest to be able to do our share for our country, to achieve its long-term vision of full digitalization, and to be the preferred destination of choice of the biggest digital platforms provider in the world and attract more global investors. In Q4 or fourth quarter of 2021, we launched our IoT platform through Smart. This is the very first IoT platform in the Philippines with a breakthrough of an all-in-one platform that opens up a new horizon of opportunities and will empower both consumers and businesses. It will allow you to have full control over your SIMs and IoT devices via a multi-tenant self-service enterprise portal with a self-provisioning feature. This means if you are embarking into digitalization, IoT, and automation, there is a platform in Smart where if you power these IoT devices with Smart SIM, you can actually self-provision, self-manage the behavior of those IoT devices. Because as we know, in this type of projects, activities and progress is very dynamic, right? And it's difficult for you to be able to always ask your provider, do this for me, change this for me, turn this off for me, turn this on for me. So this platform will allow you to do that already. And it's the very first in the country. This is also a powerful tool that is set to transform the way Internet of Things applications are deployed as we prepare our country for billions of connected devices in the coming years. So for those forecasts, we are now readying our wireless network for to connect billions of IoT devices and mobile devices. So our network is readying for the future. And in March of this year, we also celebrated our groundbreaking ceremony of our 11th Vitro data center. So similar to Clark, there are actually 9 other existing data centers across the country. And we did our groundbreaking on our 11th, which is going to be the biggest hyperscale data center that is going to be located in Santa Rosa, Laguna. So that data center facility is going to have a capacity of 100 megawatt power. So how big 100 megawatt power is, just to dimension, all of our 10 data centers today, including Clark, combined, has a total operating power capacity of 26 megawatts. So that data center is basically 4 times bigger than the 10 data centers that we have already built across the country. And we're fast-tracking the build-out, and hopefully we'll be able to soft launch it sometime end of this year or early first quarter of 2023. And this facility expands our network of world-class data center, positioning the Philippines to be the next digital hub and destination in Asia Pacific. So this facility was actually built with the intention to attract global digital platform providers similar to Amazon, Facebook, to locally host their infrastructure in the Philippines. Thereby, those individuals and businesses who actually connects to this infrastructure will be able to cut down cost of connectivity because it's already local, and experience and get better experience. So those times when you're running YouTube videos and then sometimes it gets flunky because of some network congestion going to a specific country, those are, if Google would decide to host it locally in the country, right? Because they need actually a very powerful data center with a power that will be needed to feed all of their servers. So just imagine how much powers these servers require. So we're going to be able to take advantage of that because these platforms are going to be here, present in our country. In May of this year, our brothers and sisters and Smart announced its partnership also with a US-based satellite company called AST Space Mobile to conduct tests of the latter's Blue Walker 3 satellite, which is designed to communicate directly with unmodified mobile phones from low orbit, Earth orbit satellite or LEO. So this company, AST Space Mobile, similar to Starlink, is launching low Earth orbit satellites. But the difference is their satellites can actually push mobile phone signals without any conversion needed. So with this partnership, it will allow Smart to provide coverage in areas where we are not able to build infrastructure through this satellite coverage without the need to build towers and without the need to lay out submarine cables, especially for island areas. So the signal will be coming from our partner and will be the one pushing 5G, LTE, 4G signals to mobile phone users. So that it will allow us to be able to provide coverage in these underprivileged or far-flung areas much, much faster. And I would provide updates to everyone once we have launched that service. And this month of June, in fact next week, we are already launching our Jupiter submarine cable system in Daet, Bicol. So once online, this will increase, again, our international capacity 5 times or up to 60 TBPS. ready to scale with the growing demands of digital services. So these are the milestones and the major projects that I would be able to share that we have started or completed in 2022, and hopefully we're able to provide you more updates on the second half by second half of 2022. So completion of all these milestone projects lay down the very strong foundation for our country, the Philippines, to progress and push forward in building smart cities, smart provinces, and even smart municipalities. Indeed, this is the time for our recovery, and as we work together and as we journey further together to become a smart and digital nation. And to end my update for today, let me just share with you our PLDT 2022 campaign video clip. In behalf of PLDT, Smart, and our affiliate companies, thank you, Asia CEO Clark, and to everyone here today.
You've come a long way, and everything you've done has led to this moment. Primed for taking on bigger things, reaching greater heights. And while the path ahead is filled with uncertainty, taking the next step can seem daunting. But to stay still is more terrifying. Moving forward becomes reassuring with a partner by your side. One that teaches you to trust. One that has been with you from the start. Through it all, whether you're thriving or still striving. A partner that pushes you to carry on and go the distance despite it all. Together, there are no boundaries, only possibilities. Together, we can go further.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, I don't know if you caught all that, but this hyperscaler thing is the term that they use for big companies with big data. Facebook, Amazon, all these kinds of things. PayPal, which has very big growing operations here. Alibaba now is coming in. So, and if you heard that, their current, how many data centers do you have currently? 10. And this new one now is bigger 4 times than the other 10 put together. 100 megawatts of just computer boards, essentially. That's how is it really? Okay. That's all it is. How can you have 100 megawatts of just a bunch of computer boards? I don't get it. But in any case, it's pretty impressive. I'm into this, so don't mind me. Okay, customer experience. This is something that Filipinos have become known throughout the world as premier in this. And if you talk to guys like Craig Rhines, and especially our next speaker, Arthur Nowak, they will go on and on about this. That Philippines, Richard, this is the future, and all this kind of a stuff. So we're pleased to have our next speaker, Arthur Nowak, previously many years with I still call it Teletech. I know I'm supposed to call it T-Tech. This is a very large employer of Filipinos, 25,000 or so currently. And Arthur has really been key, certainly in the Philippines, of getting it really to where it is today. He previously ran the Asia region for this. He had 25,000 people in Philippines, but also oversaw operations in Australia, New Zealand, India, and other various locations. So, yeah, so a lot to do and to talk about. Arthur liked Philippines so much he stayed after his previous posting finished, and still lots to do here and a lot to contribute. Known as a guy who really pushed the business community ahead in diversity and inclusion. This is something you're going to hear more and more common. He approached us about having a Diversity Company of the Year award, and also to do an annual event about this. that we've really worked together closely, and people say anyway, it's had a big impact in getting people to recognize the importance of people who were left behind and felt left behind and have a lot of contributions to make. The LGBTQ plus people with disabilities, women in management, even older people who still, have lots of contributions to do. So there's a lot of things that he's done and really made a lot of contributions to the nation. So please welcome Arthur Nowak to the stage, and always a compelling speaker, so I'm sure he'll live up to his name.
I'll try. Even though I do have to get you a new picture, Richard, because I haven't looked like that since the pandemic. There's been a Taal volcano eruption, a pandemic, a couple of typhoons. I no longer look like the picture that you see, but that at one point in time is what I was. So as Richard mentions, I am a proud resident of the Philippines. I've been living here for 8 years. I'm very proud to call this my home. I've spent over 20 years in the customer experience industry. Fun fact, Craig Rhines originally hired me into the industry. He's the reason I'm here speaking to all of you fine folks here today. And I'm really proud about the role that the BPO space has had for this country. It is the number 2 GDP driver of the Philippines. It is actually set to overtake OFW remittances as the number 1 GDP driver of the country, which when that happens will be the first time ever that income is really being generated here in this country, which means labor, jobs, economic development, and I'm proud to be a key influencer, if you will, in that space. And so in today's world, there's a lot of digital disruption, right, that's occurring. And with that disruption, Craig talked about earlier how the Philippines needs to think about work from anywhere a little bit differently to be able to continue the growth that it's seen. I'm going to talk a little bit differently. While I agree with his premise, I'm going to take a different angle, and it's more around the skills that are necessary for the future in terms of the labor and talent pool here in the Philippines. The world is a great place for opportunity right now if you're in the Philippines from an outsourcing perspective. The reason for that is, as everyone's worried about inflation across the globe, that is causing cost pressures on companies that need to rationalize that cost and place work in the most cost beneficial locations that deliver the highest levels of quality. And you can see that just even in the last 2 years, the spike of inflation in economies across the globe is really causing companies to really rethink where they place work, where they go to different geographies. And the Philippines leads for a wide variety of reasons. A robust, diverse, and passionate talent base. You do contact center jobs in the US, and people walk, their shoulders are hunched over, they walk into work, they don't really want to be there. You come here in the Philippines, people deliver passion, energy, and enthusiasm for the job like never before seen. People ask me all the time, why the Philippines? And I say, have you visited the country? And until you visit the country, you can't really have an appreciation for the energy that is in this country. Expanding infrastructure. Clark Smart City is a perfect example of that, a very pioneering endeavor here locally in the area. And the continued expanding infrastructure, even what we heard from our PLDT friends, right? That continued expansion of infrastructure is very critical for the continued economic development here in the Philippines. Strong linkages with government, academia, and industry. The Philippines is absolutely leading in voice services, but I would also argue it's growing in IT and non-voice services as well. In fact, somebody was telling me just the other day that they no longer source IT resources from India, but they are coming to the Philippines because of the access and availability of talent here in this country, which is a very different trend to be able to hear. And then, as mentioned, cost competitive. And that while it's cost competitive, I also see as it being a key driver of the middle class here in the Philippines. The growth of the BPO space and other industries in this country is continuing to add value to the middle class here in the Philippines, and I think results in prosperity for all. But I think as you look at customer experience, right? People say it's the most important thing to a company's success, right? 86% of buyers will pay more for a great total customer experience. 14% of startups fail because they don't consider their customers' needs. It's now believed that 66% of companies compete entirely on the basis of customer experience. And 32% of customers will walk away from a brand after a single experience. One experience. So when we talk about customer experience, I want to ground everyone in what are we actually talking about? And so for me, customer experience is a couple of different things. So it starts with your social media presence. Who is your brand? What are your values? What are you putting out into the social community? What's your channel experience? So what's a channel experience? It could be your logistics. It could be your online presence. It could be your retail store experience. It could be your web presence and what your web experience looks like. When customers interact in all of these channels, what is that experience? What's your product or service experience? Do you actually have a good product? That informs customer experience. And then the area I focus in on, right, is the service experience. When you need customer service, what is the experience you experience in that channel? I'll try not to continue to use the word experience. And then so finally, customer experience is really the totality of all of these experiences that informs what a customer thinks about your brand. And what's key around this, that's really, really critical, is that the service experience is not the same as the customer experience. I've been in this space for quite some time and I talk a lot about this, right? An associate in the contact center can only do so much to turn a poor situation into a positive experience. Sometimes I liken it like putting powdered sugar on a pile of poop and calling it a donut. The customer still knows it's a pile of poop. And there's no pleases and thank yous and I'm sorry, let me rectify this for you, sir or ma'am, that will fix that experience because the customer experience has already been negatively affected, no matter the fine work of the contact center people that are supporting the job. And so, what is the service experience? In my view, it is a lens to the customer experience. And so let's take a look at that lens. Through that lens, what we see overall is that about 40 to 60% of service volumes are failure demand. Let me define that term. So what is failure demand? It's a demand caused by a failure to do something or to do something right for the customer. Customers come back, they make further demands, unnecessarily consuming an organization's resources. I feel I've been overcharged. I'm waiting for my product to arrive. My product or service is not working. That is an indication that it is failure demand. Contrary to value demand. This is demand caused by a customer who has a desire to conduct business with a brand. Please give me a quote on. I would like to buy more. May I upgrade? These are all value type of experiences. And again, failure demand negatively impacts the customer experience. It doesn't matter how many niceties you put around it. It's a negative experience for the customer. And when you focus your resources on dealing with failure demand, those resources are not available to help support value demand. Imagine calling the contact center and wanting to upgrade your service, and you're waiting 30 minutes to upgrade that service because those associates are busy dealing with customers who have had issues with your product. And so traditional service experience measures, I would argue, are insufficient. Doesn't mean throw them away, right? I think they're very diagnostic, but typically in the contact center space, and those of you who've worked in this industry know, first contact resolution, AHT, quality evaluations, CSAT, are all measures that we use to measure the service experience effectiveness. However, they're only as effective as indicating how effective your contact center is in resolving customer friction after it already happens. So to me, it's like this doctor who has a bleeding patient and she continues to put more Band-Aids on this bleeding patient. She's running out of Band-Aid fixes. The customer, in this case, the patient, right, needs something different than a Band-Aid. Somebody please help this guy out. But all that is at this person's disposal are Band-Aid solutions. And so when you look at customer experience through this service lens, let's see what we have. So a typical contact center associate will handle about 500 interactions, customer interactions per month. That's about 200 observable moments on value demand, if you assume that your value demand percentage is 40%. And that's about 300 observable moments on failure demand that's occurring in your company. And so the questions organizations should be asking of their service experience operators are things like, what are customers saying about my brand? Why is this happening? Why is this failure occurring? What do customers like, not like? What changes can I make to reduce failure? Can I better leverage technology to optimize the experience? When failure occurs, can I make it simpler to resolve? And so the skills that I've been working with organizations to embed, I've now embarked on my own journey, developed a consulting practice where I'm working with providers and clients in really upgrading the skill set of their service employees. And the skills that I see in the future, the skills that I think that the Philippines should readily adopt in order to continue to be the champions of the customer experience, are things like AI optimization. People used to ask me, is AI going to make contact center work go away? My answer is, have you ever talked to Siri, Google, or Alexa? If you have, you know that that's an improbability. Customer journey mapping. Customer journey mapping is walking the journey through your customer's shoes. It's more than just the contact center experience. It's what happens before and after the contact center experience. And it's usually where you can identify upstream issues that are causing friction with your product that, if resolved, can have a massive impact. Six Sigma process improvement. Now, I'm not a big fan necessarily of like DMAIC in terms of its all process rigor, because by the time you implement a DMAIC project in today's world, your problems have changed. It'll take you 6 months to go through it. But the skill set and tools within Six Sigma are very critical to analyzing your business and understanding failure points and where you need to place emphasis and focus for improvement. Digital channel practice expertise. The channels are evolving. Customers are now interacting on WhatsApp, messaging channels, those types of voice is kind of going away. We need to develop an expertise in these channels because communication styles are different. The expectations are different. Citizen development programs on RDA, RPA. It's a lot in there. RPA is automation, right? I'm actually surprised how many people in the service channels do not use automation. You watch a contact center associate, typical customer interaction, they're interacting with about 14 to 15 different screens. If you see them, they go Alt-Tab so quick, you won't even know what they did for the customer if you're observing as a bystander. The systems are not all connected, they're not all integrated. RPA solves that. It helps them become a lot quicker to be able to process tasks, and your customer's time is better respected because it's less time for them to be on the phones. Now, the reason a lot of people don't leverage RPA is because IT resources are not readily available. IT projects for most organizations are for the next 3 to 4 years, and resources are allocated. They're fully utilized. A citizen development program is a lot of these RPA tools now have low-code, no-code solutions that I believe contact center employees can directly program themselves in order to deliver a more automated, more frictionless experience for the customers that they support. And agile ways of working. I hate the word empowerment. I hate it because it's overused in the contact center space, and it's usually utilized when business leaders don't want to actually solve the real problems in their organizations. Just empower the contact center associate. Just tell them to fix it. Do you think anybody comes into work in the day to say, I'm not going to really try to do my best and try to fix a problem? They're limited by process, technology, and other constraints that actually disable them from doing the right thing for the customer. So empowerment for me is a shortcut excuse to just say, I don't have time to resolve this for my employees and enable them to really fix the challenges. I just want them to kind of fix it. You got to provide the tools in order to drive success. And where we've done this, the impact has been tremendous. So one, you're uplifting the skill and capability of the labor force that work for you, and you're making them a part of the solution. And when you make them a part of the solution, they're more committed to that solution. And so where we've implemented this, we've seen a reduction of 15 to 20% in employee attrition, big driver in the contact center space. It's a tough gig. And a 10 to 15% improvement in employee engagement. People celebrate their success. They want to be a part of something good. They want to be a part of something material. And we're able to improve the customer experience. By listening to front lines, we've seen on average a 5 to 10% reduction in failure demand per annum. Only a few years before you can really optimize your operation by leveraging some of these insights. And it's a 34 to 40% reduction in time spent resolving customer issues. That's the impact of RDA and RPA on contact center space. When people talk to me about getting the contact center more efficient, right? They usually want to talk AHT targets. I want to talk about automation. Those are the tools that take the customer experience to the next level. Because, in fact, the best customer experience may actually be no service experience at all. A wise person once told me, unless you're Walt Disney or Ritz-Carlton, no one does business with your brand for your service experience. They sign up for PLDT because they expect their internet to work. They want high-speed internet connectivity, right? They go and buy the iPhone because they want the iPhone to be simple, easy to use, and never have a problem in it. Nobody says, I want to buy an iPhone because I want to talk to the geek squad that sits at the Apple bar. So the reality is the CX lens means we need to reduce the failure demand in the service experience. And in that way, I see the Philippines as evolving to become the Olympic champions of customer experience. If you'd like to talk more on these topics, I'm available on LinkedIn. Noack Arthur is my username there. And I just launched my website for my consulting practice, arthurnoack.com. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Hopefully you like the site. We've been working really hard on it. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so he's a smart guy and all that. Thank you, Arthur. Yeah, a lot going on in this industry. So mark my word, Philippines really could be known as the global dominant power in customer experience. So as a, for instance, our next speaker was supposed to be Heidi Enriquez, and unfortunately her flight got delayed a day, and she's arriving in the afternoon, so she'll miss. But if I can tell you a little bit about what's going on with her as an example and follow up to Arthur. Her company, she works for a Australian group called Probe Group, which bought a number of BPO companies. BPO, who you might have seen their name when you drove in. BPO, you see it maybe on the way out. Microsourcing, what was it, StarTech, I think? A couple of others. Was it StarTech? Some name like that. But anyway, so what the company has done is grouping all those together. The company was acquired by what is the world's second largest investment company called KKR, Colbert Kravis Roberts. If you're a financial guy, you're nodding, oh yeah, they're big. But this company is investing big money in Philippines. This company really does all of their business in Philippines, and they're focused on the middle segment, SME segment. This is 30 million jobs throughout the world that have opportunities for Filipinos to do. So there's still lots going on here. When I didn't know, Arthur mentioned that this sector, it may soon overtake remittances. I hadn't, but this is significant because these are jobs here for Filipinos based in Philippines. So there's still lots to do there and a very big opportunity. So I'll just go into that. But also, New Clark City. This again is certainly one of the most highest profile development projects in the nation. $14 billion, planning to host 1.2 million people, a lot with this. So we're really pleased to have our next speaker, engineer Jake Bing Kang, to talk about it. I want to know a lot more about it and plan to spend the rest of the day looking around. But also he was key in the SC-TEX project, which if you're, I don't know, we have relatives in the north of the country, and it was a game changer in getting there. Once it used to be a painful, difficult drive to get there. Now it's a easy, fast, and pleasant. So yeah, with a big update on this, we're really pleased to have Jake Bing Kang. His formal title is Senior Vice President for Conversion and Development, New Clark City. Glad to have you, Jake.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for inviting BCDA in this event, and congratulations to the organizer, of course. So we are delighted to present updates on what's happening in New Clark City. So first, for those who are not yet familiar with who BCDA is, we are a government corporation. Our task is to develop former US bases like Clark, John Hay, Poro Point, and we are part of the Build, Build, Build program of the government. And our mantra has always been PPP, Public-Private Partnership. As you can see from our business map, we are present in Metro Manila all the way to Central Luzon up to Northern Luzon in Baguio and John Hay. Our total catchment area is more than 30 million people, so we are a big contributor to the nation's economic development. In Metro Manila, of course, you are familiar, we are proud with one of our successful development, which is the Bonifacio Global City. So I started to be part of that project 25 years ago after college. So right now it's one of the most familiar business development in the country. Okay, so why we are building a new metropolis for the country, which is particularly here in Clark. So these are the business cases that are present in our objectives of building New Clark City. Of course, they mentioned already about the booming BPO industry, residential requirements, growing population, the presence of infrastructure, good infrastructure here in Clark, as well as in the recent pronouncement by incoming NEDA Secretary Balisacan, he said one of his most important goals in the coming 6 years is to strengthen the manufacturing and agriculture sector of the country. So we are aligned in terms of the objectives for Clark. We are aligned to make sure that we achieve that reinvigoration of manufacturing and agricultural sector for the country. So we are now in Clark Freeport zone, but our focus is New Clark City. It's in the north of the area, particularly in Tarlac province. It covers around 9,450 hectares. So in the master plan, it covers around 9,450 hectares, as I mentioned earlier. And right now, our partnership and arrangement is through long-term lease. So any companies who would want to locate in New Clark City, we are offering up to 75 years of lease or joint venture arrangement. So these are our initial partners. Just like in Bonifacio Global City, we started with a good master plan. And our master planners are global leaders like Surbano Jurong, Nippon Koi, and ACOM for the master plans and design standards and guidelines. We also partnered with the UK government for the parks development and also for the housing, and for ADB for the connected park and river park development. And the last lines are our partners for utilities. We already have utility partners. For water is Prime Water and Tahal of Israel. For power distribution, it's Meralco, Marubeni, and Kansai. And the second line are our initial locators in the area, which we will discuss later in details. So right now, the status of New Clark City in terms of infrastructures, we will start with these are the different areas where we think Clark has a big advantage in terms of attracting investment in the country. In terms of aviation, we all know that we just opened the new Clark International Terminal building last May 2. I'm proud of this project because this is a personal project of mine. It started in 2017 and it was completed a year ago. So this is, I think, among the few build projects of the government which was started and completed under the same administration. And it's a model for PPP arrangement as mentioned by DOF in all other PPP projects for the country. So the new international airport, I encourage you to visit that area, has a total floor area of 110,000 square meters. So it's big, it's twice the size of Mactan. If you've been to Mactan, it's twice the size of Mactan Airport. It's bigger than Terminal 1 of Manila, Terminal 2. It's almost the same size as Terminal 3 of Manila. And it has a capacity of 8 million passengers, expandable up to 12 million passengers. So these are the features of the new terminal. You'll feel proud when you get to go inside that facility. And the good thing about this terminal right now is that even non-passengers can come inside, because we want to have we want to share that sense of ownership to our people that this government has provided them a good infrastructure for themselves. So these are actual pictures that were taken during the opening. Okay, and we started to see the return of flights, which were suspended during the pandemic, but starting this June, more Korean flights and other international airlines are coming back to the terminal. And in terms of logistics, we are proud to host again FedEx, where they have recently opened a big sorting facility inside Clark. And recently we are about to conclude our negotiation with them to put up their Southeast Asian aviation hub in the country. So we expect them to build the same scale of development as the terminal airport that we just built. And it will bring a lot of value chain business for the country or for the region. And other infrastructure developments that we are building for Clark includes this. We're building a new control tower. No, this will be the tallest control tower in the country. It's around 18-story high. So we could imagine how tall this would be. It's already 32%, and we intend to complete this by end of the year. And then we are about to start the rebuilding of the second runway. We are proud with Clark because this is the only airport in the country which can host 2 parallel runways. No? Manila, they said, has 2 runways, but they are perpendicular. They can have simultaneous landing and takeoffs. But in Clark, given the size of the aviation complex, it can accommodate, in fact, up to 3 runways. So we are now planning to do the detailed design for the second runway and start the construction by late next year. So the government's focus, even in the next coming years, is really all about Clark, to make the infrastructures more competitive, no, with what others in the region are offering. Okay, next. So in our part, the new terminal building right now, we already privatized the O&M. It's a consortium called Lipad, if you heard about it, but the main operator is Changi Airport of Singapore. And so under our concession agreement with them, they are required to update the master plan. So the master plan calls for the development of the entire aviation complex to accommodate 80 million passengers. Now, we know NAIA has a capacity of only 40 million passengers, but Clark can accommodate in the master plan up to 80 million passengers. So this one is prepared by ACOM, but the other areas outside of the area that was turned over to Lipad, so Lipad has only 800 hectares out of 2,300. It's being master planned by architect Palafox. No, I won't discuss much of that, but later on probably he can give us some snippets of what he is preparing. Great things for Clark as well. So in the master plan, there will be 2 more terminals, and then start when this will get approval from BCDA and DOTR late this year. We will offer commercial, mixed-use, warehousing development in the area. So you can see that really for Clark, the airport will be the central theme of attraction, and all around it are all aviation support businesses. And the good thing about this Clark airport is that, yes, you can go on to the next slide. So these are the renders by both by ACOM, and this one is from Palafox. Sir, I will use your good renders as well. Huh? Okay, next is that, okay, let's go next. The good thing about the Clark International is its connectivity from Metro Manila. No? We are appreciative of what this government has done under Secretary Tugade, that they will connect Clark by fast rail to Metro Manila. Right in front of the new terminal building is an ongoing construction of a train station. No? You can see actual pictures. No? So this train project of the government will covers a total entire area of a length of 147 kilometers, so all the way down to Calamba, Laguna. And in fact, in the news today, if you're going to run around, read about the news items, you can see that the ADB already approved the funding for the Manila to Calamba section. So really, this rail project is going to be a reality in the next few years. Now, I was telling my children na when this will be completed, we don't need to use our cars to go to Enchanted Kingdom in Santa Rosa, Laguna. We'll just use this great facility. Instead of 5 to 7 hours, in just 2 hours or less, we can arrive in our destination. So so you can see the terminal building on the right side, and then that's where the location of the rail station. Okay. And then we will also offer commercial development. Can you bring back the slide? So our agreement with DOTR is that they will build the underground station, and on top of it will be a mixed-use development. So late this year or early next year, we will offer it to private developers to develop it into a commercial station. Next. So these are just alignment that we have. So there's a station behind SM City Clark. Okay, next. So in terms of road for New Clark City, so these are the completed roads that we have. No, it is already accessible now by a new interchange that we built on Esitex going to the new city. So these are the MacArthur Cloverleaf and then the Grand Boulevard on the north. And then there's a bridge which is becoming popular among Instagram users. So this one will be completed. No? The access road going to New Clark City coming from Clark will be completed by end of the year. Okay, these are actual pictures of the development we have in New Clark City. And then the good thing about this project is that when we started with this project, when we presented the design, the DBM secretary at that time is Secretary Jokno. And he said, oh, I'm going to fund the development, the infrastructure of these projects. And then he became central bank governor, which among our first locators is the central bank minting facility that they're going to transfer from Quezon City to New Clark City. And now he's the incoming finance secretary. And then his chief of staff, which is my friend, is going to be the new budget secretary. So they told us they are going to continue to support New Clark City. So the thrust and focus of the incoming administration, New Clark City is among the high priority, is in the high priority list. Okay, next. So in terms of investment opportunity, once the initial developments will be completed, we will be looking for a partner to do public transportation services with us. So we will aim to connect Clark Freeport Zone, this area, to New Clark City. And then we are just finalizing the terms of reference where ADB will be our transaction advisor. In terms of network, we know connection is an important decision factor for investors. I think you are familiar with our partnership with Facebook. You know, Facebook, if you can see the dotted red lines, that's our underground submarine cables that Facebook has put up, from China to the United States. And along the way, they will pass by the red solid line, which we already completed. So in exchange for the use of that facility, they're going to give us 2 million Mbps of internet bandwidth capacity. So how big is that capacity? When we started with this planning in 2016, I understand PLDT is around 1.2 million Mbps and Globe is less than 1 million. But I know now they've increased several times. But given that scale of 2 million Mbps, and it's going to be used by the government, so we expect a much improved government service for our government agencies. And now we are at the stage of bringing it down, the blue line with DICT, to major economic centers like Clark and especially in Metro Manila. So this project is being led by DICT, and they already commissioned a local company, Converge, to lay down the fiber optic cables. And next will be the last mile connectivity. And so we are about to launch the invitation to construct last mile connectivity in New Clark City with private sector partner. Okay, next. In terms of institutions in New Clark City, okay, next. We started with the government. We are appreciative of what the government have issued last year, an executive order mandating all government agencies to put up backup or satellite offices in New Clark City. No, they're not forcing them to move out of Metro Manila. That will be a big political issue. But instead, for sustainability and climate change, resiliency, if something happened in Metro Manila, then the presence of government will always be felt, and it will always be up and running through the offices in New Clark City. So these are the initial government services which have signed letter of intent with us, more than 40 of them. And right now, we have signed contract of lease and agreement for more than 10. And some of them are, okay, next. Okay, so this is just, before that, I will just show the first phase of the Government Administrative Center. If you were familiar with the picture, this was used during the 2019 SEA Games. And in fact, we have recently opened it to to more sporting events. Tomorrow, there's a big event there, a Spartan event. And in the coming weeks, duathlon and other sporting events. So we are now reopening the facility for more outdoor activities. I think one of the winners during the pandemic is the need of people for more outdoor activities because of health and safety considerations. So New Clark City blends well with that objective. So we have athletic stadium, we have aquatic center, initial housing, and government offices. Next. So as I mentioned earlier, these are the initial government centers. On top is the central bank minting facility. They will occupy 30 hectares. So they will be transferring their entire Quezon City minting facility, no, where they will print money, they will produce the passports, the national ID. So their target for construction is late this year. They already awarded the detailed design to IDEA. And then on the south, on the lower part, are two government agencies. One is from Department of Agriculture, which is the National Seed Technopark, which addresses the need for food security, which this pandemic has taught us, the need to always address the food security for the population. And then on the right side is the Virology Institute of the Philippines, which was created by Congress to study and do research on all possible future viruses on plants, human and animals. So these are the initial government offices that we will see that will rise in New Clark City, and the others are institutions, no? The schools. We have UP, no? The University of the Philippines, Philippine Science High School, Polytechnic University of the Philippines, and then the National Academy of Sports, which President Duterte is going to visit on Tuesday, June 14. This is a good follow-up project from the record tally medal haul that we had in the recent Tokyo Olympics. No? We had the first ever gold, multiple silver, and bronze awards. So this National Academy of Sports will train from the grassroots level upcoming athletes, future athletes for the country. Can we see some photos also? This one is already at 90%, and as I mentioned, this will be going to be inspected by President Duterte next week on Tuesday, June 14. Okay, next. And in terms of industries, okay, the opportunities for industries is that we already have areas allocated for industrial areas. I know here in Clark, there's not much space for industrial development, but in New Clark City, we welcome this kind of industrial parks because we have allocated ample spaces, no? Approximately around 800 hectares. So our first partner is Philinvest, and they already signed the first 3 locators in their area, and we are still offering other areas for industrial development. Okay, next. So this one is the Philinvest. It's around 288 hectares. In fact, the end of this month, they've sponsored a roadshow in Singapore and invited us to invite potential Singaporean companies to invest in New Clark City. So they already completed the site development in their area. Next. So among the priority industries that were listed in our master plan, so we are giving priorities and incentives to these different kind of businesses. Probably your business is related to any one of these shown on screen, and so we welcome this kind of partnerships in New Clark City, and we provide incentives, we provide protection in terms of regulatory risk, in terms of business risk as well. So if any of your businesses are included among the cited businesses here, so we are welcome to hear and receive your interest or proposal. Okay, next. The good thing about New Clark City is that while it's properly master planned covering 9,000 hectares, the buildable area is only 3,000 hectares. So the rest, 6,000 hectares, we're leaving it to open spaces, to parks, to forest reserves, and for other green developments. So really we want to create a green, sustainable city for New Clark City. Okay, so these are to show that we are serious in our master plan. We already completed a 1.2 kilometer river corridor where people can do outdoor activities. So even if we are in a tropical area, our model is Singapore, we can still enjoy outdoor activities through these parks. No? Okay, can we see, you can see the other? Okay, and this one is the NCC Central Park. It covers around 70 hectares. It's going to be the biggest park development that we will have since since Luneta was constructed more than 50 years ago. So this is in partnership with the United Kingdom. They already completed the detailed design, and we're going to offer it as well for PPP, because there are commercial areas where the private sector can recover any investment they will make in the Central Park development. Okay, next. So these are our ongoing leisure and green and open development. So we are about to open the first of the 2 golf courses in the area. This one is being developed by POSCO of Korea, and then the other one is by Han. It's called Han Lux Mountain Resort. It's the same developer of this Marriott Hotel, Swiss Hotel. So they're expanding in New Clark City. They got 440 hectares. They are about to build 36 whole golf courses. And under their phase 1 development is they're going to construct banyan tree. No, banyan tree. So we will be seeing big names in the hotel industry. So the first development will be the banyan tree. So it will be the first banyan tree in the country. They will start construction by November of this year. And in fact, after this presentation of mine, I'm going to have a meeting with them to turn over the site to them, for them to start the site development. And after Banyan Tree, they will build Westin Hotel, Angsana Hotel. So we can see big names in the hotel industry to be rising here in Clark. So this is the detailed plan that our board has recently approved. So it's now okay for construction and development. Okay, next. So other future projects and opportunities that we have and we continue to promote and offer to private sector partner. Okay, we got several proposals for eco park and theme parks. No? We have golf courses for daddy and shopping areas here for mommies. How about the children? So right now we're evaluating several proposals for theme park. So I think this blends well also with our master plan for more outdoor activities. No, but we are still open for other proposals as well. Okay, next, of course, mixed use, retail, and food and beverages. So the initial partners that we have in New Clark City, we estimate that the population there will reach 10,000 people at least. No? Central Bank alone is, I think, 2,000 employees together, so that not excluding their families. So at the start of the first phase of development, we see opportunities already for mixed use, retail, and F&B in New Clark City. Given that the lease rates right now are still at a fraction level here in Clark Freeport zone. And we are also going to start doing, offering this, what we call NCC mixed income affordable housing. No, the lesson that we've learned in Bonifacio Global City is that ordinary workers or even managers or workers that cannot afford to live in BGC because it's too expensive. That's why if you see workers, they're living outside BGC. But in our development plan for New Clark City, even minimum wage earners can afford to live inside New Clark City. Our model, again, is Singapore. Now, they're very good in terms of this mixed income housing. So in one building, there are different typologies. So even if you are a minimum wage earners, you won't feel like you're living in a second-class structure, no? But instead, you are all treated equally. And the good thing is that you you're living in a compact neighborhood, no, where you can walk around the area and even walking distance with your offices. So this one is also designed, and the design was also completed by the United Kingdom. So we are appreciative with our partnership with the UK. So we're offering this as well to housing developers by late this year for another PPP development. Okay. This one, I mentioned earlier, the last mile connectivity. We are just awaiting the feasibility study from Asian Development Bank. And so we welcome telcos and other ICT companies to partner with us to lay down the last mile connectivity in the area, no, for businesses, because we already have partners for power and water. Now we are aiming to sign an agreement with an ICT company. Okay, next. And also we're offering data center co-location facility. Now we've got interest already coming from foreign companies to put up data center in New Clark City, but we're just asking ADB to study it for us and advise us on how to approach this kind of proposals. Next. Another opportunity is solid waste management and waste to energy project, because we are aiming for at least 10% of the power supply to be provided in New Clark City to be under renewable energy. And this is one area which we can have a good opportunity, because there's an existing landfill there. So if we can convert that materials into waste to energy development. Okay, next. And then, given we already have increasing number of locators in New Clark City, we are offering estate management services. So we're going to look for a private sector to provide services in terms of traffic, garbage collection, and even the integrated operation center management for the city. Okay, next. And also for the initial sports facility that we have in New Clark City, we're looking for an O&M partner as well to manage this facility for us. So as I mentioned earlier, we recently opened New Clark City for many sporting events, and later this year we'll be hosting international competition as well. Okay. So in summary, those are some of the short-term business opportunities we are going to offer to private sector. And should any of these in the audience who are interested, you can approach us and give you more information about the developments that we are coming up, what will be the requirements, and then the timelines for each of these projects. So on that, thank you very much for listening.
Wow, that is exciting. This is really big, everybody, as you can see. And I'm going to spend the next time, we might stay over just to drive around the area and see all of this, especially the airport and so forth. So, yeah, very exciting the work these people are doing. So, yeah, very good. Everybody likes June. So whenever we've had him speak, we always get a crowd of people just to see June. So it's always a good, a success thing, because often a quarter or a third of the people coming are just there to see June. Now, he used to have, I don't know, many of you have seen him speak, maybe some of you have, but for many years he was kind of a voice in the wilderness. And he talked about, green cities and efficiencies and, I don't know, data, all the kind of stuff that Jake now is putting in place. June was talking about, 20, 30 years ago, I don't know, whatever it was. And everybody said, my God, June, we really hear you, but these pie in the sky things, I don't know if it'll ever happen. But now we're seeing it happen. So we're really pleased to have, June, I was just talking you up a bit while you were occupied there. But June, I don't know if you know his background, but he's celebrating his 50th year, 50 years in the architecture urban planning business. He's done work in 40 countries. He's made a name for himself as the first Filipino architecture urban planning firm to be among the top 100 firms in the world by Architecture, the big global architecture magazine. He's done work, 20 million square meters of space that he's designed for. On and on. Has done just a tremendous career, 1,800 projects, again, in most countries of the world, almost. And so really pleased to have him. I kind of have heard of him talked about as Mr. Master Plan because he's done so many master plans. Jake mentioned the work that he's doing. Evan has worked with him in the past. I know San Miguel Corp, I think he's wonderful and doing a lot of work with them for their big infrastructure projects. So always an entertaining person, and I always seem to learn something. So please welcome June Palafox of Palafox Associates. Yeah, good music. Got the right music for him too.
Glad to be here. Thank you, Richard, for the extremely generous, kind introduction. Richard is a good friend. And as a CEO, and me and I, we're trying to look forward that the Philippines will be a first world country by 2035, 2040. I spoke in the Dubai Expo, March 5, and the Department of Trade Secretary Lopez asked me to promote the Philippines, not just our private sector projects. And two of the projects that I presented is Clark and Pampanga megalopolis. We have done 7 projects in Clark, and even McRae this year, they hired me to do the master plan for the 177 hectare global gateway city, and I think they brought in $1 billion of investment from Kuwait, if I remember it right. And it will be a major activity center. And we plan Clark, and Joseph mentioned it also, we master plan Clark in the future to be a 15-minute city. Walkable within 15 minutes, bikeable within 15 minutes, public transit within 15 minutes. And I think the global gateway city will be 8-minute walk. All right, so, and what I told in Dubai was that if you rotate the map of the world, the Philippines is in the center. It's no wonder for more than 300 years, Spanish Europe, the Philippines was their Asia-Pacific hub. 50 years the Americans, 2 years the British, 4 years the Japanese, strategic location. So I said, all superpower countries will always be interested in our beautiful islands. And we're number 1 in the world in call centers. We're number 1 in marine biodiversity. We're now number 1 in sailors, seamen. And I'd like to believe we are number 1 in nurses. We're number 2 in the world in geothermal energy. We're number 2 now in BPOs. We have the 3rd longest coastline in the world. And Dubai only had, my first international work was, I was named hired to help plan Dubai, bring it to the first century world, first world city in 15 years. That was 1977. And Dubai had to do the Palm Islands because they ran out of only 70-kilometer real estate, prime real estate. And some countries, they go to war because they don't have waterfront, like Iraq invading Kuwait. Kuwait was blocking the waterfront of Iraq. And today, I think Russia, one of the reasons they want more waterfront from Ukraine. I hope that's not too political. So we're number 4 in the world in gold. We're now number 4 in shipbuilding, thanks to the Japanese and the Koreans. We're number 5 in all other mineral resources. We are number 12 in human resources, and the Filipino expatriate is the preferred employee. We have employees all over the world. And 400 times the size of Singapore. But Singapore has 10 times foreign direct investment than the Philippines. We are 350 times the size of Hong Kong, 8 times the size of Taiwan, 3 times the size of Korea. So we should be in the top 20 economies of the world, which I believe and other forecasters believe. By 2050, we should be number 16th economy of the world. We might even overtake many European countries. But we must have 3 good presidents. Yeah, thank you. And now we'll just do the presentation of Clark. Clark Aerotropolis. Aerotropolis is a airport-driven city. It's also a smart city. 4,000 hectares. The new Clark City is about 10,000 hectares. And the airport aviation complex, 2,000 hectares. We're doing now the detailed planning, as Josh mentioned, around 1,000 hectares around the airport. So it's not just location now. It's connectivity, accessibility, and mobility. We can tone down the background music. Yeah, so I'll just, yeah. So we divided it into 7 districts. And the northern district, airport-driven city, district close to the airport. The southern district, industrial district, smart city district, leisure district, and so on. So very well connected to Metro Manila and the rest of the Luzon. Bus stops, bus rapid transit. So the northern gateway, north of the airport. I hope they will follow the architectural typology that we are presenting here. Rainwater harvesting, green roof, solar roofs with mass transit. We need at least 100 new cities by 2050, which will be 150 million Filipinos. So the projects we're doing also by BCDA will hopefully models for our future cities. Of course, there were several consultants for the Clark International Airport. NAIA is only 600 hectares. This airport, 2,000 hectares. Al fresco dining. Been telling people that restaurants now should be only 30% kitchen, 20% enclosed dining, 50% outdoor dining. The Southern Gateway District, south of the airport. Lungs of the city. In Metro Manila, open spaces are being sold and built on. Nowhere in the world would citizens allow the lungs of the city to be built on. There's also Dolores River cutting across Clark, so riverfront development. Technological Business Park or Smart Business Park. Lots of trees, bikeable, walkable. Stotsenburg, but the original name of Clark. We preserved the heritage buildings and the tall buildings behind them. The parade grounds will be the Central Park of Clark Freeport, Smart City, Aerotropolis. Lifestyle district. But all of these are theme developments. All of them will be mixed-use developments. As much practicable, activate the ground floors. No blank walls. The latest goals for Sun Valley, we master planned it and the buildings around them for Dongwang, a Korean investor. Also for them, an office hotel also for Dongguan. Leisure District. So that's the 4,000 hectare Clark Aerotropolis Smart City, Freeport Zone. We've been working on Clark twice in 1999 till 2002, also with Ben Jokno and President Erap. Then, and then this administration under President Duterte, somehow we've been winning design competitions. We're lucky maybe in the right place at the right time. And the next one is Pampanga Megalopolis. A megalopolis is several metropolitan areas. A metropolis is several cities. So Pampanga is probably one of the best locations for counter-magnet to Metro Manila, the congested Metro Manila as well. Pampanga is thrice the size of Singapore, twice the size of Hong Kong, 23 cities and municipalities. So again, the connectivity to Metro Manila and the rest of Luzon, the theme development, agropolis. Agro is the farm and the city. And of course, it's also be mixed-use development. Ecopolis, more environment-friendly ecology cities. Aquapolis, the water in the city, Candaba swamps. And Aerotropolis, Clark and surroundings, airport-driven city. And again, connectivities, railways, bus rapid transit. We also introduce radial roads and circumferential roads inside Pampanga because some LGUs to Pampanga, in the perimeter, you go out of Pampanga and come back to Pampanga. And also, motorists just pass through. So we'll have to capture them, at least stay one night in Pampanga. Because if you are just a day traveler, you're not counted as a tourist. You stay overnight, you're counted as a tourist. So after this plan, the downside of it is the land values went up so much. I think it's emotional pricing, not economic pricing. So bus rapid transit connected to MacArthur Highway and of course the expressway. We are even recommending articulated buses, so you have more passengers per lane per hour. And intermodal transit terminal with solar roof rainwater harvesting. I hope we'll also be able to influence the architectural typology of the public markets. Those are rainwater harvesting and renewable energy. The bus dedicated lanes in the inner lanes with the skywalks. We always advocate that our road transport corridors should be 1/3 for people, bicycles and pedestrians, 1/3 for trees and landscaping, because it takes at least 10 trees to recover the oxygen out of the cardboard monoxide per car. Areas for agro-industrial estates, farm-to-market roads, also tourism roads, bulk water supply sources. The roads towards Lubao will hopefully open up the southern gateway of Subic. Tourist information centers, I hope we were successful getting inspired by the indigenous architecture of Pampanga. And if they dredge the Pampanga River, make it navigable again, like during the Spanish times, they orient the buildings to face the river, river walks, promenades. And if you dredge Pasig River and Pampanga River and through Manila Bay, it will take only 35 minutes by fast boat from Metro Manila. Thank you very much. I hope I made it in 15 minutes. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, June.
Yeah, currently,
Please, more.
yeah, we have, if I may share, after doing work in 40 countries, I wanted to be more focused now in the Philippines. But we still have clients abroad, 12 projects abroad. So I told the clients, no site visits and no tender documents. And they still gave us housing estates, mixed-use development, architecture, interior design, master planning, urban landscape, and urban design. And during this pandemic, we seem to have been more busy thanks to the digital technology. Like places I've never been, we have projects, and I'm not required anymore to visit them. Yeah, thank you very much indeed. And the Philippines is, I think, I'm very optimistic. It's the best place to invest, not just because I'm talking to in the Philippines. And I've told that abroad also. Yeah, thank you.
Very good. Thanks, June. Yes, always a pleasure. We usually, I should have told him to go a bit longer, but anyway, he kept to the time. So thanks, June. Okay, we'd like to have some questions. We'll just have a few. So we'll welcome back up Craig Rhines to the stage, Maurice Regis of Airspeed, Michael Nolasco of PLDT Enterprise, Arthur Nowak, of course, and June Palafox as well, of course. Okay. Oh, there's a chair for me too. I don't need to sit. But yeah, fellas, so a lot of really good quality speakers today. I got to say, maybe can we just give them a hand, because there's a lot of real positive stories, and it's very exciting. Here, I'll move over here. Now, you know, earlier today I was talking with someone, and we were both talking about how it's so exciting in Philippines, and we both agreed that we had drank the Kool-Aid, which is a saying we use in the US and Canada for, you know, you believe it. Yeah, it was Evan and I. We say, you know, you believe it too much that the country is really going to go. Are we going over the top with all this? You know what I mean? What are the risks ahead that could slow Philippines or give us a hard time going forward? Anybody? Are there anybody like to have any answers, or is it all smooth sailing ahead? Okay.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Since no one's jumping at it. No, I mean, I think that, look, when you look at the statistics in the country, I think that education is still a gap for the majority, for a significant portion of the population here in the Philippines. And while there's a healthy amount of graduates every single year, there is still a good portion of the population that's not able to take advantage of the educational opportunities. And so I would say a risk is an underinvestment in education, and to continuing to educate the population around, you know, the new economy type of skills that are required to continue to remain relevant in today's age.
Okay, that's a good one. June?
Yeah, we are an overly regulated economy. Too much protection. Like I work for the rulers of Dubai. Stimulate development. Here it's regulate. Even foreign ownership of land. And the leasehold tenure, only 50 years plus 25 years. Elsewhere in the world, the Guinness Brewery in Dublin, Ireland, you know how long is the leasehold? 1,000 years. Elsewhere in the world, at least 99 years. So we have a challenge of introducing green architecture. Why would the investor spend more on their buildings if they're not sure their leasehold will be renewed after 50 years? So that's one challenge. And we have so many we have so many obsolete laws that makes us less globally competitive. And if we address corruption, criminality, and climate change, we should be a first world country in 10 years. Thank you.
Anyway, I think for logistics, what's very important will be the continued infrastructure development, both the soft and the physical infrastructure that has to be developed, continuously developed for us to be able to bring forth more investment by putting in that the infrastructure is ready here in the Philippines. Otherwise, we might not be able to sustain foreign direct investments if we do not have the right infrastructure that we are continuously developing right now. And I love the plans that was shown by Mr. Palafox, and that's also moving towards green logistics. So I hope we will really embrace those kind of plans. Thank you.
Just to add, I think the risk depends also on the decisions that's going to be made by the new government, since we're entering into the new government, right? It may go to the positive side or may not, because we haven't started feeling the actions yet, right? Because the new president has not sat down officially, or is going to sit down officially on July 1. And we've seen government plans through BCDA, which are really very good, but through experience, we've seen a lot of plans that didn't happen. So our hope is really for the government to look into infrastructure development, investing into these areas, and also down to the level of the local government as well, right? Because everyone also, this talk about expanding and building more cities in the Philippines, no, is a very important component of progressing the entire nation. And of course, there's several factors and partnerships that needs to be done by the government and the private sector. And I believe it's really important because, for example, infrastructure in a certain area requires the government to work with private partners to build basic utility infrastructures, to build the right sustainable and smart city design, to build the right highways for things to move better, and to create better talents, right? Any industry, even in the other sectors that we have met, in other provinces in the northern part of South and Luzon, we have always said that this is an important aspect because no matter how much attractive the place is, if the investor doesn't see any available talents, this is not going to happen. So I think it's more of a holistic approach in all the needed foundation to really develop a specific area and eventually the entire country.
Okay. Craig, you have anything?
Sure. I was very impressed with a lot of the presentations. I thought this is quite exciting. There's a lot going on, but no one outside of the Philippines really knows about this. So I think there's still a risk in a lack of marketing. I will tell you that because I have worked in many countries, and I think June said it very well. If people like myself and June are the only ones that work in other markets, telling everyone about all the great things that are going on here, we're only a very small. We don't carry a marketing budget, for the Philippines, and when you look at the government spend on tourism marketing and foreign direct investment marketing, it is a pittance compared to what you see in other developing nations. So I think that's a huge issue that still has to be addressed.
That's a very good one. we all have had the experience of speaking to people from different countries, and they all know just the bad. You know, Duterte, bad, I saw it. And it's very easy to turn that around in a few minutes when you talk about infrastructure and BPO or whatever. But when they're over there, they don't have that. So I don't know why it's we can do better there.
I think we have we also need good citizenship and good followership, not just good leadership.
More people like June, I think.
And even when I speak at the Harvard alumni, they're surprised at the positive things I tell them. And one joke I tell them, I love my country, never a dull moment. You wake up in the morning, you don't know what's gonna happen. But and in Dubai, Singapore, they have 6 kinds of infrastructure. Progressive infrastructure, these are the international airports, international seaports, international schools, international standard hospitals and hotels. And then hard infrastructure, we all know that, the build, roads and utilities. Soft infrastructure, the ease of doing business, no red tape, no corruption. Then green infrastructure, plant. Then Internet of Things, artificial intelligence. And I think very important is institutional infrastructure. You may have the best plans in the world, but if you don't have the good institutions to implement them, nothing will happen. And with this new administration, one thing about it is the cabinet members he hired, even those who did not support him. And I spoke to him, of course I said I'm not available for a government position. I spoke to him that the plans done in the mid-70s under his father, I worked for government at that time to pay back my scholarship at UP, United Nations Development Program. I was so lucky, I was appointed in World Bank funded project, USAID projects, USAID funded project, Japan funded project. And it was in the government projects that I work on that the rulers of Dubai invited me, hired me to help plan Dubai, bring it to the first world in 15 years, plan Dubai as if there's no oil. And when I went to Dubai, the Philippines probably 100 years ahead of Dubai. Today, I think Dubai is 100 years ahead of us, so we had to catch up. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any questions, or you want me to ask one more? I'll be glad to. No? Everyone's quiet? Oh, okay, here, come on. Please state your name and, yeah.
Hi, I'm Frankie Villanueva. I'm from the Clark Locators. Okay. First of all, thank you, Richard, for inviting this panel. And I have a question for you. Because right now from the panel, we can see that there are a lot of things going for us. It's a master plan, we have the infrastructure, the broadband is coming, the logistics support, the manpower. In fact, the work from anywhere is going to address some of the problems in the manpower. Yet we only have 5% of the FDI of the ASEAN region. And so Singapore has 52%. And if you divide it by per capita, we have the lowest per capita FDI in the ASEAN, and which makes you wonder what's wrong. And I think Architect June was hitting it on the head, which is we have a DOF that's a spoiled brat that's out of control. Okay, right now our incentives and that's why I'm asking you this question. When DOF was coming out with Train 2, you organized a forum to address Train 2. And thanks to that forum, DOF was forced to rethink and to go from Train 2 to Trabajo, which was Mabaho, then Sitira, which is Tinira, and then finally Create. Now, Create was a much, much better improvement over Train 2. However, when it came to the IRR, and it was DOF who was assigned to do the IRR, they went beyond the intention of the law, and then they started stripping away the incentives that were meant during the sunset provision, and the inclusiveness on who will be entitled to these incentives. So, because right now we're just a country that is still a factor-driven country. We're not even an efficiency-driven economy. So people come here, investors come here for the ease and of course the cost of doing business, which was presented. We have a good opportunity. Inflation is good. However, now DOF has stripped away a lot of the incentives of the existing locators, and then it has come up with a lot of regulatory RMCs NRRs that confused everybody with regards to BAT. And I think our friend PLDT is witness to the confusion that's happening right now. And so, my question is, can you organize another event to address the recent DOEP proclamations? Because I think if we create awareness, like the way we created awareness for making Clark as a gateway before, when the new administration came in, help a lot in driving a lot of the infrastructure towards here. But now we have to make sure we don't drive away our existing locators. We've had a lot of our locators right now are looking elsewhere, sadly. Even Filipino locators that are here. Because the cross-border doctrine, which is the essence of what a Freeport is, has been murdered by the BIR recently. So that's the challenge I bring to you.
That's a very good one, and thank you. Maybe we can talk to you a bit about that. A good speaker, it seems like. But I know, Craig, you've talked about this a lot.
Yeah, so let me give you maybe a slightly different perspective, because as a locator, as having worked as a locator here, and also having worked as a client that provides investment to partners that are locators here. Someone who has been, I'm speaking about myself, I'm someone who has been extremely supportive, and I feel I have a great sense of respect for PEZA and for the Director General. I spent a tremendous amount of time at DOF when I was here, and developed a tremendous respect for Secretary Dominguez and his team. And I was a board member of CCAP, and one of my roles was participating with IBPAP in a lot of the discussions related to Train 2 and Trabajo and Create, and making sure that we were very clear on what the industry needs related to investment promotion and investment incentives. So with that context, let me just remind you that PEZA was not created for BPO companies. PEZA and the PEZA zones and the law did not contemplate a large workforce that had information technology assets that would need to be used outside of the zone. It didn't contemplate furniture and other kind of support assets that would be needed for someone to work from their home to accomplish these knowledge worker jobs. So this is pre-pandemic. I remember having a very spirited conversation with Secretary Dominguez, where he was frankly very very clear. You don't take a square peg and try to fit it into a round hole. So I think, maybe imperfect, but I do think that the direction they were trying to go in was to create some other options to PEZA. Also, do not forget that if you are a PEZA locator and you have most of your facilities in PEZA zones, if you decided that there was a BOI incentive or some other incentive structure that was better for you, it is not as simple as just saying, okay, well, now I want to have this incentive structure for all of my facilities in the country. You would have to basically decertify your sites. You'd have to go through a whole process to swap out, and it's just not realistic. So I don't necessarily have an answer for you, but I do think that the opportunity is perfect timing with a new administration to make sure that when we're speaking to the Department of Finance and to DTI and to organizations like BOI and PEZA, that we're very clear on what problem we're trying to solve. We're not just throwing money out to incent a locator to go into an economic zone that has tax, corporate tax holidays and import duty, free import duties and these other benefits related to PEZA. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring jobs to the country. We're trying to enable those workers with technology and process and support so that they can be successful in their jobs. And that requires a different kind of incentive structure to meet the challenges there. So I hope that's helpful. And I'm not suggesting that I disagree with anything that you said, but I think we have an opportunity to now change this. We just need to take a different approach.
We just had there was a Senate committee hearing about a few weeks ago, where Joey Salcedo, the guy who framed, who was the main author for Create, talked to BIR and told BIR directly, you went beyond the intent of the law, because the law was very clear. It wanted to preserve all the incentives that were being enjoyed. And it even pleaded for BIR to reconsider its issuances. And BIR refused. And PEZO was there. And PEZO was speaking also strongly against all these issuances by the BIR and the DOF. And the problem is, in the pecking order in this current administration, DOF is number 2, okay? So hopefully with the new administration with Pascual, Medalla, and who else? We have minds that are open, and they're not just out there to collect. Because if you take a look at our tax rates, we have the highest tax rates in the ASEAN, but the lowest tax to GDP ratio, which means the problem is not the tax rates. The problem is the collection efficiency, and that's what they should focus on. And BBM, I was happy that BBM said, hey, I don't have any intentions of coming up with new tax rates, new taxes. I just want to improve collection efficiency.
I think that's a very valid point. I just would say, again, there's no tax incentive structure, there's no law in place today which provides an incentive to a foreign locator to buy equipment and the investment in services and support to a worker at there is nothing today that supports that. So that is a huge problem.
Because work from anywhere is what you're fighting for. But
exactly.
And then FIRB just said right now, hey, if you're not working in the office, you don't receive your incentives. But I think looking at physical location as your employment, but because even if they're working from home, they are still employed from that office. So I don't know why physical location is an issue. I think they just want to protect certain companies like 7-Eleven who benefits from this 24/7 guys.
Okay, well, let's go on a positive note in the end, though. But very good points and worth an event. So, but what is, from each one, if you can, what is the single thing that you're most excited about for the future? What project, what point of special, unique benefit that Philippines offers? What's the one thing you think that's really going to make a big impact for the nation and its people over the next 5-10 years? Anybody? Something real positive,
Well, I mean, I think I highlighted it a little bit in my presentation, right? So I'll try not to rehash that, right? But the U.S. is regularly in the news in terms of its politics, and there's a lot of arguments and differences of opinion in the U.S., right, around what's right, what's not right to do. And I kind of look at the Philippines as a relatively new democracy, and being here as a foreigner, you kind of ask yourself, is it kind of directionally heading through the right navigational beacon, so to speak, in that open ocean? And while there's controversy here around, work from anywhere and the incentives and build, and all of the programs, right? There's various different opinions. But I think in general, the country just feels like it's going in the right direction. And I think the fact that, issues like the one that was just raised are being raised and being talked about is a sign of a healthy democracy and a healthy debate. And so I have every confidence that through discussion and through an exchange of ideas, this country is really headed in the right direction. And it is a functioning democracy, which I think is really tremendous and something that we should all be very proud of.
That's a fantastic point, right? Yeah. Because the election, by mid-morning, everything was done. Everybody knew who was going to win. And the people who didn't win were saying all the right things that, the people have spoken. So, great point. Who's next? Maurice?
Yes, I think you said the election was peaceful, but of course, what we're really thinking of is that there are plans. So unless there are plans, there's really nothing to look forward to, right? But there are plans, that's number one. And I think it's now the implementation and, of course, getting our act together. I mean, getting the government's act together in the same way as the private sector. At the end of the day, like we in Airspeed, we always like to we're building lives. We want to build lives by giving them opportunities. And at the same time, building communities. That's why we also believe on building the lives through our sellers and the small and medium scale industries. I think it's not only the big companies, but also the small and medium scale industries. Now, giving those opportunities, because there are a lot of them, will also move the country towards growth. Right? It's something that we feel that we in the logistics industry can also help them so that they can be also part of this growth. And as long as we are all working together, I think there's no way else for us to go but up. Thank you.
Good. John, Michael?
Yeah. Today we've heard about developments on the national level, the plan of the government, and maybe I'll share with you what I'm excited about representing the locals. Me and my team were able to had a chance to talk to the LGU executives, and I think what's exciting is they started seriously looking into building their an infrastructure in their own area, right? Fund it, provide connectivity and free internet services to their constituents, which we all know that when internet is available to an individual, it would help them be an online entrepreneur,
yes.
Attend online classes, right? Use internet to learn more outside of the classroom, right? And I've known a lot of individuals who actually, during the pandemic, had certified courses online, right? And these are not the usual courses in the class. And these LGU executives are also aspiring to build their own version of smart city, as we call it. And again, these are planned, and I hope they would really seriously execute it, right? Because again, it's important that their citizens are able to get the basic services, right? And these LGUs digitalize their infrastructure to be able to provide ease of doing business to investors. And the good thing about it, I've read in the news that in 2023, LGU would have an increased budget of 40% from their IRA, or the national tax allocation. Okay. So I think that's good news that there are a lot of visions for infrastructure development on the national level, but in the past, sometimes there's a good vision, but on the LGU, it's not executed properly. And And it's very exciting that the LGU executives are also considering in doing this in their areas.
That is a very exciting thing.
Yeah. Thank you. One positive about it, 12 of the 18 cabinet member nominees, I know them very well. They are not corrupt. And then positive thing also, 10% of the mayors and governors are very good. The 90%, they can be better. So we have to help them. And then smart technology is to help smart governance, smart people, smart economy, smart ecology. And like number one city in our country, Makati, I've been telling the mayor, building permits. Sometimes I spend the whole day signing blueprints. And I told her, in Dubai, 55 government permits, all government permits are through the internet, except marriage license. And they do it within 30 minutes. Here, land transactions, sometimes three generations. In Dubai, less than 30 minutes. And if I may, my observation of the more successful cities and countries in the world, they have visionary leadership, strong political will, good appreciation of good urban planning, good appreciation of good design like architecture engineering, good governance, excellent management, and the leaders are not integrity challenged and they are not intellectually challenged. Thank you.
I like that.
Very good, June.
That's not libelous, huh?
I think one thing to kind of keep in mind is the number one asset of the Philippines is not its vast natural resources, it's its people. There are simply not many countries in the world that have a population of 110 million people or more with a natural service culture, service proclivity, with the tremendous access to the entire country now that's been built with has been opened up with all these new infrastructure projects that has created access to areas that just have not been accessible before. The technology infrastructure has gotten to a level where it's at par, maybe even slightly better than some of the peer countries. And there's, what I've heard today here is that there's a lot of strategic planning, a lot of strategic thinking, and hopefully with this new administration, you have the right people to deliver on that strategic plan. So there's a mix here, and I think to answer your question, Richard, what excites me when I think about the Philippines and the opportunity here is that there really hasn't been a time that I've been involved in the Philippines and trying to convince the companies I've worked for or my wife to come in and live and work here. When you've had this mix of many very positive things that I think put the Philippines still in a very strong competitive situation.
Yeah, very good. Okay, everyone, that's it. So a hand for these people who came up from in yourselves. Really, really good. There's a lot of positive things. So if I could ask Tessa Galang and please, your name, my dear. Another trophy like these guys need, but we're going to give them one, put it with your others, show your mom, girlfriends like it too, I've heard. So, come on up. Who's the first one here? Yes. Okay. Craig Bissett.
Sir Felino Palafox.
Okay, then move forward, please. Hi. Beautiful sight, isn't it? Okay, thanks everyone. Really nice to see everyone. And we'll see you again soon in the city or back here again. So thanks again everyone, and come on up and shake hands. Ah, nice.
On behalf of the Airspeed Group of Companies, I would like to show our gratitude to Rebecca, Richard, and the whole Asia CEO team. Let's give them a big round of applause, guys. We have been collaborating with them for over 4 years now, and we have seen how they have been tirelessly creating events despite the limitations and challenges of the pandemic. Speaking in front of a live crowd feels surreal because for the past 2 years, our conferences were held online and we cannot see and meet people as we have used to. Thank God that we are now safely and securely going back to our ways. So I'm ecstatic to see Clark grow as a global and green city, and I hope we can replicate this in the whole Philippines in the coming years. I would like to commend and thank all the speakers. Thank you so much who shared their insights on how we can push the growth and betterment of Clark, North and Central Luzon region, and the developments we can be proud of, and of course, the best practices we can apply in the projects we have in our respective sectors. Let's give a big round of applause to the Asia CEO team for bringing us all together. Thank you, Asia CEO team. We can definitely make it happen for a more progressive Philippines. Let's all make those visions and plans happen for Clark and soon for the whole country. Thank you again, everyone. Stay safe. Happy Friday. Have a restful weekend. At mabuhay ang Pilipinas.
Thank you for joining us today at the Asia CEO Forum. We hope you can be with us once again at our next exciting event.